our goal is to give you more automation, right? With the easy button. Now, you don't have to be, Jad is not an accountant, right? He's not a financial wizard, but he still understands how to use Baselane's banking and bookkeeping because it's the easy button. You just go in, you set it up, it takes a few minutes, and you're off to the races.
What is up, Growth House family? It is your host, Jesse Ray. I'm super excited about today's episode because I have two guys here with me. We typically don't have three people on the podcast, but we're going to make it work, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So today we have Saad and we have Jad from Baselane. Jad, you are the co-founder and CTO, and we have Saad here. He's the VP of Growth and Partnerships, and we've been going back and forth talking for a long time over the past few months. Also sponsors of Immersion, our mastermind coming up here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I just want to also say this, like Baselane, VC-backed company, prop tech company, really helps the new investors and also all investors with just consolidating a lot of things that I've seen in different, softwares I've used in the past with rentals, where it's accounting in it. You have property management. You have just easy ways to really streamline the dashboard and the process. So I actually personally love you guys because I switched all of my properties over to Baselane. So I just want to give you guys just some love and a shout out there. But let's start with you, Jad. Just, the background, I believe, is used to build supply chain logistics software, and then now you co-founded Baselane. So I'd love to hear kind of your story and how you got involved.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having us. And I'm really excited that you switch your properties over. That's always amazing to hear. I started out as a software guy. I've been writing software for 20 years. Logistics was a big chunk of my career, but I also did stints in writing software for gaming and for tourism and even finance industry. I never imagined, not in a million years, that I would ever be a landlord or real estate investor. It just never came up on my radar. But, we had a house, my wife and I, we had two small kids, it was a starter home. And at some point, the kids got older, they got bigger, they got rowdy, and we decided to upgrade our house. And there was a back and forth with, what do we do with our old house? Do we sell it and take the equity, or should we rent it out? And a good friend of mine said, hey, Jad, you just got to rent it out. He helped me do the cash flow, set it up, and helped me place my first tenant. And it was great. After a couple of months, though, the way we set up the accounts is my mortgage for the old house would get pulled in from the same account my rent came into. And a couple of times my tenant would tell me, hey, I'm running late. And it's fine. It's one of these things you don't think about. Okay, no worries. I'll deal with it. I've got the cash somewhere else. But after a couple of hours, I forgot. And then, the bank tried to pull the mortgage and I got dinged, got this really nasty letter. And it happened 3 times in a row. And the fines for that year from not paying my mortgage on time, ate up all my cash flow. And I didn't realize it ate up my cash flow until I sat down at the end of the year and did, I don't know how many hours of Excel, just trying to figure out what my cash flow was for just one property. I remember having that moment of like, I can't do this every year. There's got to be an easier way. And I searched for tools and I couldn't find anything that would help me just instantly help categorize, instantly see my cash flow. And I was shocked there was nothing in the market. So being the software guy, I just decided to roll up my sleeves and start building a company that could, target people like me who really aren't CPAs, don't have that accounting background, can barely use Excel, but want to see what their cash flow is, want to see how their property's performing. Like, you can invest $10 in the stock market, you tell right away how it's performing, but you buy a house and you can't tell how you're doing on the financial side. It's kind of absurd. So that's how I ended up starting Baselane. That's how I ended up being a real estate investor. And, with great people like Saad on the team, we're just going from strength to strength.
That's amazing. And I just love that. That's how like the entrepreneurial journey usually is. It's like we or someone close to us has a personal problem and we're like, wait, there's no one else that's already solved this. Like, let me make my version of it. So I love it. Saad, Duke graduate, former CPA. Fill me in on why you ended up joining Baselane.
Yeah, well, first of all, Jesse, thanks for having us. Super excited to talk to you today. And I think this is our first time. I've done a lot of podcasts that one of our customers is the host. And so that's super special. And I love that story because I think one of our brand ambassadors knows you. And then you learned about Baselane and then you reached out and we connected. So it's been like really fun to just collaborate. I love the networking in real estate. My background is in finances. I did strategy consulting at BCG. Now I've been working in startups for the last 5-6 years. But my real estate journey is very similar to Jad's. I accidentally became a landlord. And the fun fact is like more than a third of the landlords and investors in the US are those people. Accidentally became a landlord. And what does that mean? I had my first house I was selling as I was moving to buy a bigger house similar to Jad. And I had it listed for sale, and a very wise family member told me, hey, don't sell this thing because it was in Brooklyn, New York. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm about to sell it. He's like, no, do not sell this house. And I took it off the market. I figured out kind of how to do the listing and all that stuff to rent it out. I was kind of skeptical because I was like, I've never even thought about that. A few months later, I noticed I was actually making money because it's, it's Brooklyn, it's high rents, like good ratio in terms of like the mortgage and the costs. And so I was like, this is actually kind of interesting. I want to do more of this. And so that is what led me to, my real estate career. That's a longer story because it took me 2 years to do my first deal after that. And so it's never easy and sexy. It always seems like it, but it's not. But as I was building up my portfolio, which is mostly long-term rentals and a mix of MTRs, STRs in Philly, it's about 18 units. I was just really shocked at how manual and outdated everything is in the space. And I feel like real estate is that sector that's been left behind. You're still in spreadsheets, doing stuff manually. Tenants are texting you, like property managers are sometimes professional, sometimes not. And so I kind of was excited about my investing. I was talking to a friend of mine, but complaining about all this stuff. And he's like, there's these guys that are starting this company. You should talk to them. And they happen to be BCG folks as well, but I reached out to them the year they started the company before the product had launched. And for me, it was about a year or so we kept talking. And when the first product launched, when I joined, we had 0 customers, 0 payment volume, nothing at the time. I've been very lucky to be a part of the team from the ground floor. I was the first business hire. And the thing that is exciting for me is I was going to solve my own problem by joining Baselane. That's what I'm doing. But really solving the bigger problem that exists for 15 million landlords and real estate investors in the US that are mom and pop, folks like us that are trying to, build passive income, retire early, build legacy for your families, and bringing the automation and technology that we need, that large companies have, but we don't, and we need it to scale. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I get to not only invest in real estate, but also like do it as my day job of building technology that delivers on that promise for all the mom and pop investors out in the US. So today I'm leading the go-to-market at Baselane, and that's kind of my day job. Like for me, the fun part is I use the tool every day as an investor. So I'm like using it every day. I've got my virtual assistant on it, my partners on it, and my entire real estate business is run through Baselane. And so that's like been the proud moment for us. Like we're 3-4 years into it, and we're building a lot more. So super excited to tell you more about that. But that's why I joined Baselane.
That's amazing. And you mentioned spreadsheets, mom and pop investors. And I think, when you first start, sure, maybe a spreadsheet is, okay, if you have one tenant, but then you have 2. Or if you do rent by the room like I do, it's not just one tenant in one house, it's 5 or 6. And then it starts getting a little complicated. So talk to me about, just the different problems that you've seen a lot of these people reach out to Baselane for when they're trying to scale from maybe the spreadsheet to Baselane.
Yeah, I think I'll share some data with you. I like data because it gets people's attention. The vast majority of investors that we're talking about, the mom and pop investors, which is almost like 98% of them, own anywhere from 1 to 4 units. Okay, what that means? Well, so what does that mean? So what, right? The average person owns 1.8 property, less than 2. Okay, so if your goal, and you're listening, if your goal is to get $5,000 of passive income, $10,000, $15,000 of passive income, you're probably not meeting your goal, right? If you're in the average, right? Maybe you're not, but if you're in the average or below. And so this is where we start, because Baselane wants to help people achieve their financial goals. But if the reality is you only own, less than 4 properties, you're probably not getting that passive income that you need to achieve your financial goal. That's sort of the problem statement. Okay, how can we help you scale so you can achieve your goal? And so that's a key thing. The other thing is that this is equating to approximately about $700 or $800 a monthly gross profit, not net. Okay, so definitely if your goal is 5K, and most people I speak to, like 5K per month extra income or 10K, you're well below, your magnitude's below that goal, right? And so it's very important to learn and understand the mistakes others have made or the things that you don't know yet to avoid those things so you scale. Like I love that you're focused on growth and that mindset, because that's part of the challenge here. And so what are the reasons that, what are the things that we're seeing that are happening out there? There's one more thing I'll add to this. Most of the folks out there are W-2 income earners that are doing this, right? Like all of us, a lot of us. And so mixing the goal that you're not achieving, your you're failing at it, with the reality that you have very limited time because you have a full-time day job, you probably have other responsibilities. It's just very hard to do it, right? To get to that goal. And so that's where what we see happening is that people, if they don't establish the right systems and the right behaviors early on, even with one property, like Jad said, right? Just with one property, you're probably using like 15 different tools. You have to have like several financial relationships, at least five. We all know that. So like, how do you manage all this? What happens is you don't set up the right systems and you don't implement the right behaviors. And I'll give examples. So you end up burning out and you fail, right? And then you're like a older, burned out landlord, and now you're just getting out of it to avoid losses, right? And we don't want that to happen. We don't want the financial shortfalls to happen. And so basically that is the problem statement that we're talking about, right? Before I even get into all the mistakes and all that stuff. And the problem statement is really important to understand because I think we under kind of like estimate how bad the problem is. And like I remember reading a book from David Lindhall a few years ago where he said like, don't be a landlord, be an investor, for example. Like, what does that mean, for example, right? Like, how do you do that? And so on that backdrop, another data point I'll add is that if you have one unit, and I know that Jad had that one property and I had the first one myself, you don't realize this, but you're spending 4 to 6 hours on monthly recurring financial tasks, rent collection, reconciliation, banking, paying the vendors, all this stuff. If you have 4 properties, you're probably spending at least 8 hours. If you have 10 properties, you're probably spending 12 hours or more. This is based on the research we've done. And that's outside of all the setup you have to do, by the way, setting up bookkeeping, setting up a bank account. That's outside of all of that stuff, setting up an LLC. This is just the monthly workflow. So you can imagine the demands are high on your time because you got to do a lot of work just to even run one property, let alone 4 or 10. And so with all these problems happening, there are many mistakes that people make. And actually, I think Jad has he can share a little bit more on this. What are some of the mistakes that people are making? I can add to it and kind of like comment with that. But I wanted to share that data with you first and the problem statement, which is that we're W-2 workers, we're not achieving our goals, and we're crunched for time that we don't realize we're spending on this thing. And even then failing because we don't have the right systems and behaviors.
So true. No, you hit on so many great points there. Yeah, let's dive into that. Jad, do you want to take it off from there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the biggest mistakes, I'd say there's one massive mistake a lot of first-time real estate investors do, and that's they don't get their finances organized. I mean, it boils down to that, really. I, for example, I wasn't even aware I needed to have my finances organized. What does that mean? So, I'm collecting my rent, I'm paying my mortgage, I'm paying my insurance, I'm paying all these things. The cash flow is there. That's not a problem. The cash is moving in and out. But when I want to figure out how am I performing? Can I start affording my next investment property? Am I paying myself? Do I have enough to cover for my taxes end of the year? That's what I mean by the financials. So if you don't have a good system, and if you're like me, for example, I don't come from a CPA background. I don't understand the ins and outs of finances at all. I barely know what income and expenses are. And Saad will probably tell me I get them wrong half the time, which is fair. I'm a guy who knows software, but I still want to work in real estate investments. So how do I build that tool set? Either I need to go out and hire a really expensive, CPA like Saad to come and help me build that, or I need to be able to use a tool. And that's what the biggest mistake we see. People don't build, or investors in general don't build great financial habits from day zero. Like you said, one investment property, very easy to collect my cash with Venmo, with Zelle, with PayPal, with a check, with a direct deposit. Now comes tax time. Where's all my expenses? Where are all the receipts? They're not going to be in a shoebox because that's going to be a nightmare to untangle for even one property. Now try to, like Saad is saying, one property is not going to help you reach your investment goals. Scale that up to 5. And it's not you're multiplying your problem by 5. It's more like you're multiplying it by 50 at that point. That shoebox of receipt explodes. The number of rental that's coming in, like someone in your case, you have you're renting out by room. You're multiplying everything. You're multiplying your rent income by 5. You're multiplying your expenses by 5. You're multiplying your insurance payments by 5. Your mortgage by 5. So all of these add up and they just eat up into your time. So that's the biggest mistake we see. Most real estate investors, especially starting out, do not build that good financial system. They don't build the good financial habits that can scale. You want something that as you add another property, you're not multiplying your effort by 5. You want something where you're just adding another 5 minutes of your day on the finances, because the last thing I want to do is the finances. What I want to do, what excites me is being a great landlord. What excites me is going and hunting for that next deal, just trying to see how I can add to my portfolio. That's the exciting stuff for me. Doing the finances, not exciting, not at all. But you cannot become a great investor. You cannot become a great landlord if your finances are the foundation of everything. is not built properly.
Yeah, and I
So
think
true.
and I think there's another sort of like mistake I see people making. And in the sort of digital economy where we're on forums and we're all like collaborating online, there are some dangers to that too. And I also lead our content team, I lead our influencer team, I lead all the sort of ambassador program and all this stuff. So I see this stuff happening, literally reading comments. It's like a new investor will come on to like a bigger pockets and say, "Hey, I've got this thing. I'm a little scared. I just bought it. I need to find a tenant. Like, what should I do? What are all the things I need to do?" But then they might be getting advice from like people that are not the right people. This is unrelated necessarily to Baselane, but it's like, don't get advice from people who are doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. And one of the things that might be manifesting the way to find out why, whether somebody's good or not for advice taking is probably who they are and how successful they are, right? Like, what's your NOI? Then I'll take some advice from you, right? Net operating income. Because I'll give you an example. This happened a few weeks ago and it was super frustrating for me. It's like a newbie comes on Bigger Pockets, asks on a forum how to collect rent. And several people are like, "Oh yeah, just use Venmo, Zelle, whatever. It's just one property. Like, just use Zelle." And I really hate that. And I don't use the H word lightly because I think we are hurting each other if we give this kind of advice, if we build the wrong behaviors. That person did not get into rental property investing to have one property. That's like, is it 80-90% chance that's true? They're trying to get to 10. Nobody's going to get to 5K of passive income with one property, especially when the average net earning per door is $300 to $400 a month, right? So when people take that kind of advice and they do those bad behaviors like setting up Zelle for cash for rent collection, they don't realize what they're getting into. They're going to be in eviction trouble if something bad happens. They're going to be in a reconciliation nightmare if they're a few payments behind and then there's no late fees being charged, right? Just all the wrong things are happening. This is one example. Many people I meet, and not to say like I won't say it's a terrible thing, but like never set up a separate bank account, right? Like, okay, you don't have an LLC, you're not sure if you want an LLC, you have to debate that, you want to save money on the lower interest loans, with the regular, conventional stuff. Okay, no problem. Figure that out later. That's a protection issue, that's a legal issue. But you can still open a business checking account on your name. You don't have to have an LLC. And so there is zero excuse not to do this, right? Like, especially with technology like Baselane, it takes like less than 4 minutes to open a digital business checking account. And you've done it, right? Like,
Oh
instead
yeah,
of
I've
going
opened multiple. I'm like, why do I have so many? I don't need this many, but it's just so easy to do.
Right. And exactly. And so this is the thing, like we built product that's basic and easy, the easy button, because we don't want you to make this mistake. Maybe you were busy and you couldn't figure it out and you just went with your Bank of America or whatever. Your personal is now commingled with your business. And at the end of the year, your accountant doesn't like you because it's a nightmare, right? And then you just get stuck in that cycle for 3-4 years and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I don't know what's going on." And you burn out and you fail, right? We don't want that. This is an example of what can happen. You don't have a bookkeeping system. Another mistake. "Oh, it's one property. It's two properties. I know my numbers." Like we did a survey and almost 70% of people did not know actually how much money they were making. And that was a survey, so maybe people are overconfident, they actually overstated that number. So it's probably much, much lower. But when we asked them, like, "Do you feel like you're profitable?" Everybody was like, "Yes." And so that's another mistake. You don't know your numbers. Like you're trying to run a business. Our recommendation is to run it like a pro. It's not just related to finances and baseline. It's everything that you do, whether it's underwriting and finding tenants and property management and all of these things. And that's another example, right? Like where you didn't set up the right bookkeeping system or you set up QuickBooks, you don't know how to use it, so you never used it and you just wasted money and time. But you still don't actually understand how you're performing. You don't run your monthly P&Ls like a professional. So you see how much net you're earning, where the issues are, right? So you can solve them. A lot of people just end up waiting till tax time to see what happened. And then they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I actually lost money." Or wait a minute, this property was, the water bill was $300 a month every month. How come I didn't catch that? So that's another mistake. So kind of like summarizing what we just said is like mixing personal with business. That's a big problem. And with Baselane, it's super easy. We'll talk about that. Taking advice, I think, from the wrong sources. Like I would take advice from people that have scaled with the right systems. And I'm not just talking about Baselane. I'm just talking about in general. Again, like building the right habits. And so don't dismiss it. If you're in the game to scale and grow, don't dismiss the behavior comment, right? Take it seriously and run your business like a pro. You're competing on single family rentals with Wall Street. Do you think Wall Street is, using Excel sheets and Zelle? No. And so that's the challenge. We need to level up. And if we're all going to grow and scale to 50 doors, that's probably all what we all want, 30, 50 doors at least, then we need to, establish the right systems and behavior. So that's like our kind of like view of the world based on all the things that we see on a day-to-day basis.
So true. I just want to highlight that main point of a lot of people get into real estate investing and just a landlord instead of thinking of it as you're a business owner. Like this is a full business and
You're an
set it up the
entrepreneur.
right way. You're an entrepreneur
Yeah.
100%. And so, yeah, that's where I see a lot of issues happen where, they're not open a separate checking account or they don't have LLC set up, but just like really take this serious. Like get your finances right because HVAC goes out. For most people, that's almost a year of cash flow gone.
Wiped
So
out in one day.
yeah,
Yeah.
one day. So it's so true. Let me ask you guys this. And I know, are you guys good for another like 10 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool. I would love to keep diving into this. Either one of you, I would love you guys to talk about all the different softwares or, ways people are organizing stuff and then share how Baselane literally consolidates all of that. Because I went through a
Yeah.
couple different softwares. I'm like, oh, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. Oh, wait, I don't have to pay $15 a month to chase for all these checking accounts that I wanted to open to keep my stuff organized. Like you guys saved me probably $500 a year plus just because I had all these checking accounts that were under $2,000 that I would get hit with these $15 per month penalties because it wasn't at a certain threshold, which drove me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can do a quick stab at this. So I think, like, generally speaking, if you think about even just one rental, right? Like, and I wasn't really like trying to be fantastic in my comment. You are probably using 10 to 15 different tools just to get one property, one deal done. And if you think about the gamut of those things, that goes all the way from sourcing the deal, right? Finding it and deal analysis to making the offer to closing it to financing and insuring it, then you have tenant selection and that whole process, and then management and ongoing things like that. In addition to all that, you have to set up everything, which is like your financial layer of your banking account, maybe your LLC and all those things that you need, your bookkeeping system, your credit card that you probably need for running your business operations. And so I think if you talk about just relationships, we think it's somewhere between 10 and 20 roughly across all this stuff easily that you're doing just even for one deal, one property, right? On the financial part of it, it's probably like at least 5, but closer to 10 once you actually get down to it, because everything related to finances, whether it's your lender, your insurer, right, your bank, and often you might want to have multiple bank accounts for different reasons. Your credit card, you might probably have 1 or 2 at least business credit cards, right? So that's already like 5 or 6 right there. Then you need software, right? And so the basics of that, like you're talking about, you're going to have at least QuickBooks, for example, or some sort of accounting software that you can replace. You might have a property management software that you signed up for because you're self-managing, for example, and you can also displace that. And then if you have any sort of like banking, additional like reporting thing going on, that as well. So like with Baselane, what we're doing is taking like a traditional bank, like a Chase or Bank of America, a QuickBooks type software that's not real estate friendly, and like the property management software. There's tons of them out there, right, that are sort of old school. We're taking all 3 of those things, we're smashing it into one thing and giving you one login to run your entire real estate business, right? So not only can you set up the banking and set all of that up, which is the heart of your operations, and automate those things, you can use our AI bookkeeping to auto tag and understand how much money you're actually making, get reports, get tax reports. And finally, on the property manager side, we built tons of stuff already there. Not only automatic rent collection, so your professional tenant screening is live, lease upload and e-sign is there. We've built other things for their tenants like rent reporting so they can build their credit. The tenants can build their credit and they love that and they pay on time, as well as something called Flex Rent, which allows tenants to convert a payment into installments for a small fee. Again, giving tenants the easeability of having more cash flow help in the gig economy. And we're building tons more on that side as well. So really, our goal is to give you more automation, right, with the easy button. Now, you don't have to be, Jad is not an accountant, right? He's not a financial wizard, but he still understands how to use Baselane's banking and bookkeeping because it's the easy button. You just go in, you set it up, it takes a few minutes, and you're off to the races. Again, all the financial workflow with all the way to like the Schedule E that you need for tax, as well as now the property management stuff you need to run your day-to-day operations. And we're building all of that together. Lastly, I'll say we've also started building a marketplace so we can make it easier for you. You want insurance? In Baselane, you can get a quote in 3 minutes online, okay? You want to bind that policy? 1 click, done, right? So like within 4 or 5 minutes, you can buy a policy. You don't have to talk to an agent. You don't have to chase people down. We're also building a lending marketplace so you can get really great lenders and be able to like talk to them and get like quotes. And a lot more of that is coming in terms of data analytics and insights. So that's sort of the rough idea of what Baselane can do for you.
One-stop shop for everything you need as an investor and a landlord, like just point blank. Well, we should probably let people know how much it costs because, it's a few $1,000s a month. Do you guys want to share that?
Yeah, I mean, Baselane costs $0.
Crazy.
It's free to use. It'll always be free to use. We are considering some more time saving, subscription based tools in the future, but it will always be free to use for a real estate investor to get, like you said, one stop shop for all their financial needs.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
look,
so big because the other free options out there are so terrible. And then I saw like I was ready to pay whatever per month for you guys. I'm like, wait, this is all free? And then I had to understand like, oh, how do you guys even make money with this software?
yeah, this as a digital bank, we're making money on the deposits as traditional banks do, and the APY that we earn as well. A lot of that we give back to our customers as well. As you know, like right now it's 3.35%. I think we're always gonna have the free tier. We're gonna be soon building a very reasonable, to be honest with you, like it's like under I think $30 a month or something like that, pay tier. And for the value you're gonna get in that, like the AI bookkeeping, which I've been testing out right now on my stuff, which is like amazing. And I don't want to oversell it. Hopefully, it'll deliver on the promise that people are looking for. That's going to be in the paid tier. That's in a beta right now. And then there's a couple of other things we're building that, again, add more automation so you can save, 5 hours a month of work, of busy work. Some of that stuff is going to be in the new paid tier, which is coming. So all these new features that I'm talking about, some of those are in the paid tier. But yeah, there will always be a free base tier. There will be this paid tier. Our business model is more around the banking. So we want you to use the banking, right, and run your operations through that. And that's how we can afford to also lower the cost of the platform, right? And the monthly cost, QuickBooks is charging people $80, $100 a month, or other banks, like you said, are probably charging at least $15 per account minimum. And so we're not doing that. And we're also giving a lot of value with discounted wires and ACH transfers. You know that in other banks, like with ACH transfers, you have to pay like $30 a month just to have that thing on so you can send ACH transfers, right? For example, we don't do that. It's free. And so that's why even the paid tier is going to be so valuable. You're going to be saving hundreds of dollars a month. And I'll leave you with a story because I think the bookkeeping part is understated. I was talking to a business owner who's actually a lender, and they're a very successful company. That person has like 2 properties, and they were trying to do the bookkeeping. So they tried to get their bookkeeper for the business to do the bookkeeping for the rentals. And they got this like crazy quote for like $800 a month, right? You don't even earn that much on the rentals. And so the person basically said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I said like, okay, so what are you doing? Nothing, right? The alternative was I was too busy with the business. So I'm not doing any bookkeeping. And then I said, can I show you Baselane? Like, let me just show you what it does. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you telling me like my VA can get in here and just do all this stuff? I was like, yes. And how much is it? Oh, it's like free right now. It might be like $20 a month with the pay tier. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a no-brainer. And so like, this is the kind of stuff that I see happening every day with customers is that people realize like they need to do it. They all know it's important. We're giving the easy button of like, hey, just set up quickly with our team if you need help. And by the way, it doesn't cost that. It doesn't cost anything. And so I think like we're hoping that with all this technology that we're building and the automation, people get the right behaviors kind of intrinsically through the product, right? Because the banking with the automation and the rules and everything and the AI bookkeeping, you're not going to have to do a lot of work to actually do the things we're talking about, right? And that's the idea is that we know you're busy and we want to give you the automation. So that's the journey that we're on, and we're very lucky to have lots of really great customers like yourself. And we've got a very active community. And one thing that I'll say is that we also listen to customer feedback. So if you're people out there that have problems that we're not solving, like in the short-term rental space or long-term rentals, whatever, mid-term rentals, we're very open to feedback when we're building products that our customers have asked us to build. So what people asked us to build 6 months ago is being built right now, like the flex rent, the rent reporting for boosting credit, for example. We've even built stuff like flexible late fee structures on rent collection because our landlords wanted that. And so we're very like open to customer feedback. And this is one of the unique things about Baselane as a company. And then, it's also very transparent. We'll share with you what we're building and when we're building it. So you can see that as well. So we welcome people to have a conversation with us and give us feedback and come along on the journey with us.
That's missing a lot because a lot of companies, no one hears that feedback and they just continue doing everything that the clientele might not like. So that's awesome that you guys are really open to hearing that and, are even in the forums and checking out how you're able to make, your platform better. Man, that was a mic drop. We might have to end it there. I will say, we're now going to see each other in person. And actually next week, I can't believe it's already next week. I want to just ask you, what was one of the main reasons that you're like, Jesse, because we're very selective on our end. We don't have anyone, sponsor our events, but we had a conversation, love the energy, love what you guys are doing. Obviously, I'm a client, so I'm 100% behind what you guys do. and promote it myself just because I think it's a great platform. But what was one of the main reasons that you want to be a part of our immersion mastermind?
For us, we've been very committed to educating the everyday investor. That's been something that I aligned on with the founders when I joined as a strategy, because I have benefited from that myself. Very amazing communities like Bigger Pockets and others where I learned before I invested. And what I see you doing is that same thing. I think you're bringing people together that are not only very successful, but they're also educators themselves. And all of them have this mindset of passing it forward, paying it forward, and teaching other people. That's really important. And we want to work with and associate our company and brand with people that are like that are investing in education and helping others genuinely grow. That's number one. And number two is the mindset. Very simple. Like the growth mindset, it's the hard road. It's not the easy road. You want to grow, it's going to be painful, right? You're investing in that and you're bringing those people together that are committed to this. And I think that kind of energy then kind of spreads itself out to other people that are watching you guys and the people that you're working with in that immersion program to say, hey, I want to be like that too. If that person can do it, I can do it. And those were the two main reasons for us, right? This education theme and investing in that together with you, as well as associating with growth. Because I can tell you very confidently, because we've done surveys on this, more than 95% of our customers will tell you they're trying to grow. They're not just there to be like, I'm here with 2 properties, I'm going to stay here. No, they're all trying to grow. And so that's why we want to join, your organization and work with you guys.
Well, we appreciate you, man, and excited to see you next week. What's the best way that someone can reach out, whether it's just the website or best way to reach out to you guys personally?
I mean, LinkedIn is a great way to start. My email is jad@baselane.com. I always welcome anybody reaching out, telling me stories, telling me how we can be better. We love that kind of point of contact. Also, our support team is amazing. Just hit us up on the website. And if there's any issues with the product, they'll be happy to help.
Yeah, same for me. I prefer LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. And I get folks talking all the time about questions, ideas, sometimes inspirational things that they saw. So yeah, very, very open to connecting.
Someone's a family man. I hear little kids in the background. I love it.
He's home.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I love it. Well, let's wrap it up right there. Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.